Tier list time. Today we'll be ranking common habits that new players tend to develop from best on SS tier to worst on F tier. So without further waiting, let's start. All-rounder. So all-rounder is basically the player that learns a bit of everything. Everything ranging from flow aim maps to full jump. The all-rounder basically dedicates a bit of time on everything, and it's a really good habit since it will help a lot on the long run. This one is definitely a S tier. Autopilot. Now Autopilot is an interesting mod which you can use to analyze maps to see if they are off sync without worrying about aim or if something is delayed, and also can help you learn finger control as well. It's not a bad mod overall, but can lead to dependency if you use 100% of the time without playing no mod, so this one will go to B tier. Bad use of mods. Now this one basically means overusing certain mods or combinations of mods that lead to a slower learning curve, mind block, and even forgetting how to play no mod due to mass usage of those. This one is C tier. Bad use of in-game settings. This one refers to either changing too often settings like tablet area or mouse sensitivity, which affects gameplay a lot, or any other sort of other settings that might handicap you. This one also belongs to C tier. Easy mod. Now believe or not, this mod actually makes the gameplay harder, since it actually forces you to think. Usually, users that play EZ mod can naturally read lower approach rate much better, but same as autopilot. Overusing it can lead to difficulty in reading higher approach rates since EZ mod naturally decrease the approach rate of the map. Since this one is more of a playstyle, I'll also rank this on B tier. Playing way too easy maps. Usually, players that have this habit tend to play maps very often which are way too inside their comfort zone, and while this doesn't necessarily bring anything negative since sometimes you want to chill and play something easier, it can eventually lead to being hard stuck somewhere in a specific star range since 99% of the time these players are playing the same star range. This one also belongs to B tier. Playing farm maps. Now there are mainly two types of farm players. The first one which applies to this case is the more casual one. Now these players usually plays mostly farm maps either because they enjoy this specific style, or because they prefer mostly shorter or longer maps depending on their farming style, or just because they enjoy playing maps that give inflated amounts of performance points. This one is another that belongs to B tier. Playing for fun only. This one is basically a user that enjoys playing multiplayer mode more often than usual, and it is a really good habit since these players tend to enjoy the game much more without worrying about their learning curve. This one is A tier. Full comparison user. Now remember when I said there are two types of farm players? This is the other one. Basically this one takes performance points much more seriously, and usually they get way more frustrated when they see their ranking decaying because either they had a bad day and couldn't farm anything or they were hard stuck. This one for a beginner standpoint goes to C tier. Playing way too high star maps. Now if your final score looks like this, you shouldn't be playing these maps after all. D tier. Hyperfocuser. While playing more does make you improve faster, these users tend to play way too much with no breaks at all. This one is B tier. No focuser. Pretty much like the opposite of hyperfocuser, this player tends to play either 10 minutes per day or once a month for a couple hours, which causes rusting or a very slow learning curve. This one is also B tier. One trick only. One trick means, as the own name suggests, opposite of all-rounder, this player focuses on one singular skill set, while underperforming in everything else. Usually affects a lot more in the long run since it results in bad habits. Also B tier. Oshu Laser Enjoyer. Now Oshu Laser is basically a better version of Oshu. Here you can do everything from customize mods to wiggle. If you are an Oshu Laser Enjoyer, you're truly playing the game in the most correct way possible. Since Oshu Laser can provide a lot of tools to help improve while having alternatives for fun only. Absolutely to the top of the tier list. Offline player. Now there isn't anything wrong to play offline to get a cleaner profile. Just make sure you're not underranking yourself, since any top play you set will be very suspicious. This one is A tier. Okay, what the actual f? Why would you play the game with no sound at all? I mean, Oshu is a rhythm game, and if this is the message you see every time you play a map, and your accuracy looks like this since you're playing with no sound, after all you may want to play the game with sound. Absolutely D tier. Playing bad maps. If you have a tendency to play bad maps, such as maps with suggestive stats or poorly synced, this may make you underperform since it's harder to improve in these conditions. C tier. Playing while sick. Now, in all seriousness, if you're sick, do not play Oshu, since Oshu usually requires 100% of your capacity in order to perform well, so if you're sick, make sure to take a small break from the game and focus on your health first. Bottom of the list. Playstyle copy. Now, usually there is no problem if you're curious and want to know, for example, what pen grip or tablet area Cookie's Edge uses, but if you want to know his tablet keyboard tapping style, headset, chair posture, clothes, room temperature, for the only purpose of copying to see if you can play better, then I think you can get the point. C tier. Recommended difficulty. This one mainly focus playing the correct star range, which is just at their improvement zone, which is really good since it will help to improve efficiently and most importantly get better at the game. S tier for sure. Playing with relax. Playing with relax will only make you better in one thing, and that is playing with relax while making sure to create another 3,000 dependencies, such as poor aim relax dependency, off sync from aiming and tapping depression difficulty. To improve anything from triples to streams is impossible for you, so don't use relax. Absolute bottom tier. Playing with spun out. C tier. Try hard only. 0% multi, 100% solo play. This one focus on improving and playing their absolute best. The only main downside is that they have a tendency to get very frustrated if they're having a bad day. This one is bottom of A tier.